Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the round table. My name is Ben Hedges, and here in the studio with me today we have Tammuz Itai, geopolitical columnist for the Epoch Times. Welcome, Tammuz.
Thank you.
And we have Kay Rubicek, who is a filmmaker and writer and producer. Welcome, Kay.
Thanks for having me.
So we actually just watched the Kamala speech, her concession speech, and I wanted to go through it and, give some analysis. I know you guys have a lot to say about it, but first of all, one thing that was kind of intriguing to me was that Kamala actually did the exact same thing that Hillary Clinton did back in 2016, okay? And so she had her spokesperson come out, she didn't do a concession speech on the night. She had a spokesperson come out and say, we're still counting the votes and, we're not going to say anything tonight, come back tomorrow. And let me play you the clips because what he said is almost exactly the same as what John Podesta said back in 2016. So let's just check that out.
We still have votes to count. We still have states that have not been called yet. We will continue overnight to fight to make sure that every vote is counted, that every voice has spoken. So you won't hear from the vice president tonight.
All right, so that one was Kamala's spokesperson last night. And now I'm going to play you John Podesta, who was Hillary Clinton's campaign manager back in 2016.
They're still counting votes, and every vote should count. Several states are too close to call, so we're not going to have anything more to say tonight.
There's a different crowd and a different vibe between the two, even though the words are pretty much the same.
Yeah, the words were the same though, weren't they? Counting votes still. Some states are too close to call.
Yeah. Sometimes it takes time to process things.
Right, well, that's what I was thinking as well. If I just lost the US presidential election, I think I might need a little bit of time before I sort of absorbed it and faced my fans.
I mean, especially if you thought you're going to win.
Yes.
And I think...
Do you think she thought she was going to win?
I'm not in her mind, but a lot of the media, like the traditional mainstream media, was going with that story.
She went into it, though, with the betting odds against her. Trump had been like over 60% for a couple of weeks. But, who knows? Yeah.
I think there's also a real difference in her campaign compared to the Trump campaign when you look at who is managing the campaign. Of course, Trump's got his people, but he's very much not just a figurehead, but he's driving a lot of decisions. Whereas Kamala is very much a front man.
So maybe they advised her to do that.
I would assume so, especially when you see those types of introductions being, that kind of saying, we're coming back to this, come back tomorrow, we'll give a speech then, we're still counting. It kind of looks like they're, singing from the same playbook.
They've got to write the speech. Yeah. Well, we'll have a look at her speech. And there was actually a big line at Howard University to see her speak. So a lot of people wanted to attend this event. And let's play a few little clips of her speech. So here we go.
My heart is full today, full of gratitude for the trust you have placed in me, full of love for our country, and full of resolve. The outcome of this election is not what we wanted, not what we fought for, not what we voted for. But hear me when I say, the light of America's promise will always burn bright.
I would say it was pretty gracious.
It was.
And I think we need to acknowledge that whether we think we know what she meant by the light of America or not. And she could have said many things, but she chose to be gracious. And I think that should be commended.
Yes, I would agree with you. It certainly was a nice opening to the speech. She does go on to talk about her phone call to Trump a little bit and sort of congratulating him, less so than Hillary Clinton back in 2016. I personally think that Hillary Clinton was a bit more sort of respectful to Trump.
We must accept this result and then look to the future. Donald Trump is going to be our president. We owe him an open mind and the chance to lead.
Because she says something like, he deserves a chance to lead, right? She was like, he deserves this. She wasn't, But have a listen to what Kamala said.
Now, I know folks are feeling and experiencing a range of emotions right now. I get it. But we must accept the results of this election. Earlier today, I spoke with President-elect Trump and congratulated him on his victory. I also told him that we will help him and his team with their transition, and that we will engage in a peaceful transfer of power.
So the crowd cheers when she says a peaceful transfer of power. Now, I was thinking, wow, they're kind of being supportive, but I think you pointed out that this is something to do with last time. Right?
I really think there's a new narrative that I saw come out today before her speech came out, and that is a lot of left-leaning media are saying, look, we take the results in an upstanding way and we do it peacefully, kind of pointing the finger and saying, hey, Republicans, you aren't doing that. And I think that's why the crowd cheered. That's my theory. I wasn't there in this space, but that's what I'm thinking.
Well, it's true that last time there were 3 massive parades in D.C., and on the final one there was the January 6th whole.
And Trump didn't concede.
Thing.
He didn't give a concession speech.
He didn't concede. No, that's true. He didn't concede at all. He did make a speech on the night, but it was more like, we won, actually.
Not a concession.
Yeah, I think both interpretations could be true, right? We're taking the high road, unlike the other guy.
When I watched it, I was kind of innocent. I was like, oh, her supporters are actually being nice to Trump.
Maybe we're just too cynical. I don't know.
I think you're probably right. I think I'm too innocent on this.
Well, I've seen a lot of headlines today about this where they're being very pointed about it. The media that obviously lean left, they are pointing this out very particularly. That's why I was sensitive to it when I heard the speech. But, that's my frame.
But maybe I would add another thing is we have to see what happens from now until January 20th. Because in Trump's case, he did not concede, and there are different versions in terms of how much he encouraged or didn't encourage people to. He didn't encourage people to be violent, but he encouraged people not to accept the defeat.
That's true.
But at the end of the day, power was transferred peacefully on January 20th.
It was.
In 2020. So I think we
2021, right?
2021. I think we have to see what happens. If really that Trump's transition team really gets what they need, how it goes. And on January 21st, 2025, we'll know if that promise was delivered.
Right. Let's just play the last little bit of the speech then, because she ends with something that I thought was a little bit like of a stab at Trump, a little bit like wasn't really necessary to say, but she uses it to sort of segue into a kind of metaphor. So you'll see what I mean in just a moment.
There's an adage an historian once called a law of history, true of every society across the ages. The adage is, only when it is dark enough can you see the stars. I know many people feel like we are entering a dark time, but for the benefit of us all, I hope that is not the case. But here's the thing, America, if it is, let us fill the sky with the light of a brilliant, brilliant billion of stars. The light of optimism, of faith, of truth, and service.
So that was her finale. I thought it was kind of funny how she's like, I delivered that line well, right? Like,
she did look kind of proud of herself.
Yeah.
But I love that analogy because I just like anything when it's got those types of stories that align with the stars and the cosmos. But it looks like they've swapped the narrative again here, because on the weekend, the media were saying Trump's rallies were very dark, that his words were dark about where America is at the moment, whereas Kamala's rallies were really projecting hope and joy and light. But now she's gone from the hope, joy, light at the beginning of this speech and ending
I mean, she said we might be going into a dark time.
Right.
But then she kind of brought it back and said, oh, we're going to shine through that dark time.
Right.
I felt she didn't really need to mention the dark bit, but I don't know. It could just be there was no way to segue into that analogy if she didn't say it.
Well, I think you should and can allow people who've lost to, to acknowledge that they're human and maybe they can't help themselves but do these things. So, I mean, Trump did describe the current situation and what might happen if she wins again in very dark terms. But actually, his rallies and the way he conducted himself, especially since the assassination attempts, it was actually a lot kinder and gentler than before.
Right.
And in terms of her campaign, I think she called him fascist more times after that than before. So I would say...
She definitely had a period in recent weeks.
Yeah.
Like earlier on, she wasn't really saying
Yeah.
that stuff. But in recent weeks, she did use like fascist and these terms quite a lot.
So, but again, this is politics. People get desperate. They tried this, it doesn't work. They tried that. I think there's a lot of self-interest and lots of incentives on the line. So people are not perfect and they behave like that. But at the end of the day, I think what counts are people's actions.
Yes.
And we'll have to see.
That's right. We'll have to see how their transition goes. She has promised a smooth transition. So I think that's a great place to end it, actually, on that point. Let's check out this smooth transition. And in my opinion, quite a good speech, reasonably optimistic, little bit of a stab here and there, but what can be expected, huh? So guys, what do you think? All right, leave your comments down below. Let us know what you thought of Kamala's concession speech. Concession speech isn't actually required by law. You're not even required to make a phone call. And actually right now, even the victory of Trump isn't even official. It's just been called by the media. It's not official until it's certified, isn't it? But you can expect, since she's conceded, it is likely going to get certified and the transition of power will be smooth. So leave your comments below. Thank you so much for both of you for joining the show today. And subscribe to the Roundtable for more videos like this. We'll see you next time.